Family. Welcome back to Kickin' It with Auntie Leah. Tonight we step into a story that has shaken a family, a community, and a nation. A story that is not just about tragedy, but about truth, perseverance, and a fight that refuses to be silenced. Tonight we honor the life of Kendrick Johnson. This documentary is not entertainment. It is a call for answers. It is a cry for justice. And it is a testament to the power of a family who has carried this burden with unimaginable strength. For over a decade, Kendrick's mother, Ms. Jackie Johnson, his father, Mr. Kenneth Johnson, and his sister, Kendra Johnson, have stood together on the front lines of a battle that has never been fair, never been easy, and never been simply physical. They have fought in the courts, in the community, and in the spirit, because they know this is deeper than what the world can see. Their fight reminds me of the scripture in Daniel chapter 10, where God heard Daniel's prayer on the very first day. Yet the answer was delayed because angels were battling through darkness to deliver it. This family's journey mirrors that truth, a spiritual battle, a relentless war for justice, a fight where unseen forces have tried to block the truth, but faith, determination, and love have continued to press forward. Tonight, as you watch this film, I ask you to open your heart, keep your mind aware, and let your spirit be sensitive. Because this is not just a documentary. This is a mother's cry, a father's fight, and a sister's unbroken love. This is a family united in truth, refusing to let Kendrick's story fade into silence. This is Kendrick's story, and tonight, we tell it with respect, courage, and the truth that can no longer be hidden. Let's begin.
In the shadow of the gym, in the silence of the truth, his voice still speaks. A mother cried, a father stood, a sister prayed through sleepless nights. A son of Georgia, taken young, his story buried out of sight. But you can't hide what heaven sees. You can't kill what God revives. Even in the darkest place, Kendrick's truth is still alive.
Say his name, Kendrick Johnson. Let the walls remember him. Let the silence break apart. Let the truth come rushing in. Raise your voice, live the life. Let the whole world finally see the truth they tried to bury, rising endlessly. Angels fought through 21, like Daniel's story long ago. Answers held in heaven's hand, while demons wrestle down below. But faith can tear the darkness down. Love can resurrect the fight, and Kendrick's name is marching on through every prayer said at night. Say his name, Kendrick Johnson. Let the shadows fall away. Let the world finally witness the injustice of that day. Live your words on the line. Stand with those who had to grieve. The truth they try to bury refuses to ever leave. For every mother's tale, for every answer delayed, God is still near. Say his name, Kendrick Johnson. No more silence, no more fear. Let his story move the next. Let his justice draw near. Hands raised high, hearts on fire. We declare it while we grieve. The truth they try to bury is something they can't defeat. It's something they can't defeat.
January 10th, 2013, inside Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia, a young black boy walked into a gym and vanished from view. His name was Kendrick Johnson, a son, a brother, an athlete, a child with dreams larger than the school that failed to protect him. By the next morning, his body would be discovered upside down inside a rolled-up wrestling mat, and the world would be told it was an accident. But families do not bury their children based on convenience, and Kendrick's parents knew immediately that the truth was nowhere in the official story. Missing footage, missing organs, mishandled evidence, a timeline that made no sense, and a system that closed its eyes before it ever opened its file. Nothing aligned with the explanation they were given. This is not just the story of a death. This is the story of a cover-up, a fight, a mother's cry, a father's determination, and a community that refuses to forget. This is the story of Kendrick Johnson. On that Thursday morning, Kendrick left his home like any other teenager, carrying with him hopes for the weekend, plans with friends, and dreams stretching far beyond the walls of his high school. His mother waited for him to return home that night, unaware that something unimaginable had happened. Hours passed, but Kendrick never walked through the door. It was not like him to disappear. It was not like him to go silent. His family began to search, calling, praying, asking questions that no one seemed able or willing to answer. The school never called home. No alert was sent. A boy simply vanished, and no one acted as if his life mattered. On January 11th, 2013, everything shifted. Just after the first bell, students entered the old gym and noticed something strange inside a cluster of upright wrestling mats. One mat stood out among the others. Inside it was a single socked foot, sticking upward in a way that froze the breath in the room. As students screamed and ran for teachers, the truth became undeniable. A body was trapped inside the mat. When the mat was unrolled, the lifeless body of 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson tumbled out. The silence in that gym was almost supernatural, as if even the air understood that something terrible and unnatural had taken place. Law enforcement arrived quickly, but their conclusion was made even quicker. Within 24 hours, investigators declared Kendrick's death a tragic accident. According to their story, Kendrick had stored shoes inside the wrestling mats to avoid locker fees. They stated he reached into the mat to retrieve one sneaker, slipped inside, became trapped upside down, and died from positional asphyxia. Case closed before it was ever truly opened.
Gym mat. Now, authorities initially ruled his death as accidental, suggesting that he fell into the mat head first while reaching for a shoe and suffocated due to the position. But his family didn't believe this story and requested a second autopsy. This revealed blunt force trauma to the boy's neck, leading to suspicions of foul play. But despite numerous investigations, the case remains unresolved and many questions linger.
Inside was Kendrick Johnson, and he was stuck inside the rolled up mat with his head toward the floor, and he had been in this position for 21 hours.
And today we're talking about the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson, which is an insane case, honestly. And there's been a huge update in the case recently. So he lived in Valdosta, Georgia, which is about 15 miles away from the Florida border. And his friends and family called him KJ. He was a super sweet and quiet kid who was well liked at school and adored by his parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline, who went by Jackie, and his two older siblings. And Kendrick was a star athlete. He was super, super athletic and talented. No matter what sport he played, he was one of the best on the team. So in 2013, KJ was 17 years old, and he had gone back to school after winter break the second week of January. So that Thursday, January 10th, he had plans to meet a few friends after school to go to the freshman basketball game. But he never showed up that day. And his mom expected him to come home after the game, and when he was late, she started to worry, of course, because KJ never missed his curfew or snuck out. He was the kind of kid who always called his parents to let them know if he would be, late or if something came up. But by 9:30, she was really starting to panic when she hadn't heard from him. At 12:30 a.m., she called the police to report him missing. The dispatcher dismissed her, saying that he was, probably just out with some fast-tailed girl.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, I'm calling. My son had come home from school, Kendrick Johnson.
To Kendrick's parents, Jacqueline and Kenneth Johnson, nothing about this explanation made sense. The mat's opening measured 14 inches in diameter, while Kendrick's shoulders measured 19 inches across. His shoes were found behind his knees, not beneath his feet. A second shoe, the one he was supposedly reaching for, sat on top of pooled blood. Yet the shoe itself had no blood on it. Blood spatter on the wall did not belong to Kendrick. A hoodie and another pair of gym shoes found near the scene were never taken into evidence. And most alarmingly, the coroner was not contacted for 6 hours, a clear violation of Georgia law. These were not small mistakes. These were glaring contradictions. Jacqueline and Kenneth refused to accept that their son died in the way investigators claimed. They refused to accept a story built on mathematical impossibilities, forensic contradictions, and investigative shortcuts. A child does not simply disappear inside a school. A child does not die inside a mat without someone noticing. A child does not bleed from his face without someone asking why. And a child does not become a statistic just because his skin is black and his life is easier to dismiss than to explain. In the days following Kendrick's death, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation conducted the first autopsy. Their findings echoed the sheriff's narrative: positional asphyxia, no signs of struggle or trauma, no indication of foul play. It was a clinical ruling, delivered with the finality of science, yet lacking the thoroughness science demands.
The death of Kendrick Johnson in 2013 remains a case marked by controversy and conflicting evidence. Our investigation delves into the official documents to shed light on the timeline of events and the questions that still linger. The initial autopsy by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation listed the cause of death as positional asphyxia. However, a second independent autopsy requested by the family found blunt force trauma. This discrepancy fueled the ongoing debate. Further complicating matters were issues surrounding the handling of evidence, including the discovery of missing organs. These forensic discrepancies have led to multiple investigations and continue to raise serious questions about the initial findings. The case remains a focal point for discussions on investigative integrity.
To Kendrick's parents, the autopsy read like an extension of the accident theory, a formality rather than an investigation. They believed the true story of their son's death had not been revealed. It had been avoided. When Kendrick's body was prepared at the funeral home, the Johnson family saw something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. His face was brutally swollen, almost unrecognizable. His features distorted in ways that no simple fall could explain. The image spread across the nation, igniting outrage, disbelief, and horror. People who had never met Kendrick saw that picture and felt the truth in their bones. Something terrible happened to this child, and the official explanation was not only insufficient, it was insulting. On May 8, 2013, Kendrick's body was exhumed for a second autopsy, this time conducted by a private pathologist hired by the family.
Young Kendrick Johnson, future bride, walks into school, then out of sight. Hours pass, his mother waits, pacing by those locked school gates. Next morning in that old gym, why they find a place where her son died, inside a mat rolled tight and deep, a promise made he couldn't keep. A Thursday dawn in Georgia's town, a three-sport star of rising crown. Young Kendrick Johnson, future bride, walks into school, then leaves the light. The hours tick, his mother prays, searching through the endless maze. That gym revealed what hearts now keep. A boy laid down in death, not sleep. The sheriff's words came cold and fast, a ruling meant to always last. Positional asphyxia, the papers read. An accident from careless deeds. He reached for shoes, got stuck inside, but something darker lurked behind. Broad-shouldered boys don't slip right through, and camera gaps hid more than truth. Frames missing where the facts should be. A family saw the treachery. They dug him up to seek the truth, to guard his name, defend his youth. But what they found brought new despair. A hollow chest, nothing there. His heart, his lungs, his brain all gone. Stolen before the truth was found, replaced with newsprint, cold and gray. They stole his organs, swept away the proof of trauma from a blow, a murder they refused to show. A lawsuit rose with painful claims, whispering two familiar names. An agent's son's a secret deep, while justice stayed in broken sleep. 100 million for their pain, but courts washed justice down the drain. Dismissed and fined, the family tossed. Another battle fought and lost, yet still inside a fire burned. For every lie and truth unlearned. Years later hope would reappear. A brand new sheriff easing fear. He reopened files for all to read, promising truth would now proceed. A year of waiting, holding breath, hoping he'd right their wrongful death. But then he closed the case again. Just a weird accident, signed by his pen. A deep betrayal, cold and vast. A cover-up designed to last. A decade gone, the fight remains. Through sleepless nights and endless pains. Was this a freak, tragic fall, or did he hear a violent call? What happened in that empty gym? A question mornings ask of him. Who took his life and hid the crime, buried deep in space and time? For Kendrick's name they'll never rest, still putting justice to the test. Only you, oh God, can bring the truth. And on this day, we trust in you.
The findings shattered the accident narrative. The independent pathologist discovered hemorrhaging on the right side of Kendrick's neck, consistent with blunt force trauma, not positional asphyxia. The conclusion was clear. Kendrick Johnson did not die by accident. He died because someone inflicted harm upon him. But the most shocking moment came when the pathologist opened Kendrick's torso, only to discover that his internal organs were gone. Heart, brain, lungs, liver, everything. Missing. In their place was newspaper, dry, crinkled, and stuffed throughout his body cavity. The Johnson family was horrified. Media outlets were stunned. The public demanded answers. How could a child's organs simply disappear? And how could an autopsy be trusted when the very organs that could reveal the truth had vanished?
When we got the body for the second autopsy, that organs, the heart, lungs, liver, etc., were not with the body.
The Johnsons hired Dr. Bill Anderson to conduct an independent second autopsy.
The death of a Lowndes High School student, Kendrick Johnson, has now officially been ruled an accident.
Lowndes County Sheriff's officials jumped into action this morning after a student's body was found on the Lowndes High School campus.
The Lowndes High School now. There's a dead body out here.
Okay, where at, sir?
Lowndes High School in the old gym.
investigators and officials scrambled to explain the missing organs. The GBI claimed the organs had been returned to the funeral home after the first autopsy. The funeral home stated that the organs never arrived and that they filled the cavity with newspaper only because that was the condition in which the body was delivered.
Did you ever expect you'd have to exhume his body?
No, I didn't expect to have to bury his body.
In June, Kendrick's body was sent to Florida. The Johnsons hired Dr. Bill Anderson to conduct an independent second autopsy. In that autopsy, Anderson told the Johnsons he'd found evidence that Kendrick died as the result of a blow to the neck and not accidental asphyxia, after slipping into a rolled gym mat at school, as investigators in Georgia had said. But what Dr. Anderson did not find shocked them.
When we got the body for the second autopsy, that organs, the heart, lungs, liver, etc., were not with the body.
The brain?
The brain, they were all absent.
Every organ from the top of Kendrick's head to his pelvis gone, and his family had no idea.
We have been let down again. And when we buried Kendrick, we thought we was burying Kendrick, not half of Kendrick.
I'm not sure at this point who did not return the organs to the body, but I know when we got the body, the organs were not there.
So CNN contacted the two entities that had custody of Kendrick's body and access to his organs: the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which conducted the first autopsy in January, and Harrington Funeral Home, which the Johnsons chose to embalm and prepare Kendrick's body for burial days later. A spokeswoman for the state tells CNN after its autopsy, the organs were placed in Johnson's body, the body was closed, then the body was released to the funeral home. State investigators say it's their normal practice, but what happened after his body arrived at the funeral home was anything but normal.
What was in the place of the organs?
Newspaper.
Newspaper.
Dr. Anderson showed me the pictures of Kendrick's body he'd taken during the second autopsy.
It's a Black Friday ad, JCPenney ad. Yes.
Stuffing that newspaper in like he was a garbage can inside his body. It's unbelievable.
I'd imagine that that's a different kind of pain.
Yep.
Why do you think that there would be newspaper stuffed in your child?
I never heard of that before. Never.
Neither had the founder of a National Embalming Academy contacted by CNN, who said it's not consistent with the standards of care in the industry. Nor had the president of the National Association of Medical Examiners, who told CNN he's never heard of this practice.
Why would the funeral home discard his organs and stuff them with newspaper?
The question is, why didn't he tell us?
So what exactly did the Harrington Funeral Home do with Kendrick's organs? And why was he stuffed with old newspaper? We went to their office to find out, but their response to us? No comment. However, in a letter to the Johnsons' attorney, Harrington Funeral Home owner Antonio Harrington denies he received Kendrick's organs. He writes in part, his internal organs were destroyed through natural process and henceforth were discarded before the body was sent back to Valdosta. It's another disappointing answer for parents determined to know what happened to their son before and now after his death. And they admit they're struggling.
Unbearable, just about. Only thing that wakes you up in the morning is just to keep pushing.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. This is an unbelievable newspaper inside this young man's body. I understand there's an investigation into where Kendrick Johnson's organs went and why. What do we know about it?
Well, Anderson, we contacted the Georgia Secretary of State's office because they issued licenses to funeral homes. We wanted to check on the history of Harrington Funeral Home. And when we told them why we were calling, they decided that they too wanted to know where are Kendrick Johnson's organs, and they wanted to know more about this process, this practice of stuffing bodies with newspaper, something that they'd never heard of either.
How was the family's autopsy doctor able to determine the cause of death then?
Yeah, I asked him, if the organs aren't there, how can you determine how Kendrick died? Well, he says that essentially blunt force trauma was not in the organs, it was in the right side jaw, which was actually noted as bruised during the paramedics report on the day he was found. He dissected the jaw, which had not been dissected in the first autopsy, found bleeding under the skin. He dissected the left side as well, did not find the bleeding, and he concluded that that bruising indicated, also with the bleeding, that there was blunt force trauma, that Kendrick took that blow to the neck.
You know, Victor, one thing I hadn't noticed, and actually a viewer who works in gyms noticed and tweeted me about this the other day, was that it looks like all the mats are rolled really tightly, except for the one that Kendrick was found in. That seems to have had a large opening.
The coroner then insisted the organs were too decomposed and were discarded before embalming. 3 explanations, 3 contradictions. 1 truth, the organs that mattered most to determining Kendrick's cause of death were gone forever. In 2018, Kendrick's body was exhumed yet again for a 3rd autopsy. And once again, the findings supported what the Johnson family had known from the beginning. This autopsy concluded that Kendrick had suffered injuries consistent with being struck with a dumbbell or similar object. For the 3rd time, science contradicted the accident narrative. For the 3rd time, truth rose above convenience. And for the 3rd time, officials refused to reopen the case. A mother should never have to bury her child. A mother should never have to exhume him once, let alone twice. I remember looking at my baby in that funeral home, and I knew, deep in my spirit, that somebody hurt my child. I knew that what they told us was a lie. God gave me a mother's intuition, and that intuition screamed the truth long before the evidence proved it. When they told me his organs were missing, my heart broke again. When they told me the cavity was filled with newspaper, I felt the breath leave my body. They treated my son like he was nothing. They treated him like his life did not matter. But let me be clear, Kendrick mattered. Kendrick matters. And as long as there is breath in my lungs, I will fight for my son. I will fight every lie. I will fight every cover-up. I will fight every person who thinks they can bury the truth. Because I am his mother, and a mother never stops fighting for her baby.
After 9 years of battles, 9 years of contradictions, 9 years of wounds reopened and never healed, Kendrick's parents continue to fight for their son's truth. Every autopsy, every lawsuit, every headline, every door closed in their faces, every moment the system tried to silence them. Yet Kendrick's voice still rises. Through his parents, through his community, through every person who refuses to look away. Now, in this moment, we let Kendrick speak, not as the world saw him in that gym, but as the son, the dreamer, the young black man whose life meant everything. This is his songography, his message, his voice lifted from the silence they tried to bury.
Mama, I've been watching you from heaven every night. You fighting through the darkness while you searching for the light. I hear the tears fall softly when you think nobody knows. But mama, I'm the warmth you feel when cold wind blows. They try to break your spirit, try to bury all the truth. But mama, you a soldier, you protect my stolen youth. Even when the world turned numb, tried to shut you out the room, I was holding on to you, mama, lifting you from gloom. Mama, don't you give up. Don't let them hide the truth. You the flame inside the shadows that defends my stolen youth. I'm the whisper in your silence. I'm the heartbeat in your chest. I'm the wings around your shoulders when you're tired, hurt, and stressed. I'm right here in your wind, keep fighting for my justice, mama. Don't you ever bend. I watch you in that courtroom, standing strong against their lies. How you face a world of power, looking dead into its eyes. They stole my organs from me, trying to hide what they had done. But mama, truth is fire, and you carry where it's from. You held on to my memory like a blessing in your hands. And every step you take is already in God's plan. They tried to call it accident to turn your greed to dust. But mama, I'm right next to you and heaven knows it's just. Mama, don't you give it up. No, don't let them hide the truth. Oh, you the flame inside the shadow that protects my soul and you. Oh, tell daddy that I'm with him. Tell my sisters I ain't gone. Tell my name to every mountain, mama, let it echo on. I'm the voice inside your heartbeat, I'm the strength inside your hand. Justice coming, mama, God already wrote the plan. I know you get exhausted when the world won't hear your pain. But mama, storms don't last, only love will still remain. The truth gon' break wide open, every secret will unfold. Mama, stand a little longer, you got heaven in your soul. And when the truth comes rising, when the lies fall through the floor, mama, I'll be right beside you, just like I was before. Mama, don't you give. Oh, don't let them stop the fight. Oh, you the warrior in the darkness. You the keeper of my life. Oh, I'm the whisper in your spirit. I'm the fire in your chest. I'm your son forever, mama. Your love's what makes me rest. Oh, and your love's what makes me rest.
From the beginning, Kendrick's parents believed the investigation into their son's death was rushed, careless, and incomplete. Evidence that should have been collected was left behind. Witnesses who should have been interviewed were ignored. Leads that should have been explored were dismissed. The sheriff's office locked onto the accident narrative before performing a single forensic reconstruction, before interviewing Kendrick's closest friends, and before considering the possibility of foul play. To the Johnson family, it felt as though the investigation existed not to uncover the truth, but to contain it. Lowndes High School provided information reluctantly, slowly, and at times, incompletely. Surveillance footage was missing. The school's timeline of Kendrick's movements shifted repeatedly. Students were cautioned about speaking to the media. Some admitted they were afraid to come forward. To Kendrick's family, this did not resemble a community devastated by tragedy. It resembled an institution protecting itself, a place more concerned with reputation than responsibility. Among the earliest and most persistent whispers surrounding Kendrick's death were those involving two brothers, students at the school, whose past conflict with Kendrick was well known among peers. Some students spoke quietly about a fight over a year earlier. Others mentioned tension that never fully died.
Ain't no fucking way, boy. Boy, ain't no 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 way, boy.
School surveillance video captures Kendrick Johnson at lunch for what would have been his last meal on the day of his disappearance. Less than 24 hours later, his lifeless body would be found in a rolled-up gym mat, leaving lots of unanswered questions. And while more than 100 students cooperated with investigators, only 2, according to the case file, refused to talk to police. The 2 were former Lowndes High School wrestler and now 18-year-old Brandon Bell and his younger brother, a classmate of KJ's. According to a 500-plus page case file, their father is FBI agent Rick Bell, who referred investigators to his son's attorney, and he advised them not to talk to police. Those interviews may have been relevant as students told investigators Johnson and the younger Bell boy, both varsity football players, had a fight on a school bus on the way to a game the year before, suggesting a simmering feud. Still, police reached out to Agent Bell a second time about talking to his sons. His attorney stated after consulting with the father of Brandon Bell and his brother, he had advised them not to make a statement, and therefore the pair would not be meeting with investigators. Meanwhile, a closer look at the attendance records of the younger Bell boy on the day of KJ's disappearance shows he was not tardy or absent. As for the older brother, Brandon Bell, student records show that he and other wrestling team members were excused from 3rd and 4th block classes in order to attend a wrestling tournament 2 hours away in Macon, Georgia. While it's unclear when exactly the team left campus, The court-ordered release of surveillance video shows Brandon numerous times the day KJ went missing. Here, footage shows that after at least 2 class periods have elapsed, Bell is crisscrossing the hallway in front of the old gym, in the vicinity where Kendrick Johnson's body would be found the following morning. As far as the video here of KJ at lunch, we have confirmed that at least one wrestling team member who was going to that tournament is in the lunch line just ahead of KJ.
And in a town where power often runs in families, the fact that their father was a longtime FBI agent only deepened the Johnsons' suspicion. The parents believed this lead deserved full investigation. But instead of digging deeper, officials brushed it aside, insisting there was no evidence, even though they never fully sought any. To the Johnson family, this felt deliberate. They believed the Bell brothers were not cleared.
2 sons of
they
an
were
FBI
protected.
agent are describing raids on their residences in recent weeks in connection with an investigation into the death of a Valdosta High School student found rolled up in a gym mat. And their mother says they have not spoken to prosecutors, police, or the grand jury. Now they've talked to Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie. Mark live in DeKalb County with excerpts from those interviews that our news sends followed. Mark.
That's right. We are live outside the Atlanta field office of the FBI. We are told that is where the father of Brian and Brandon Bell was assigned, though he worked out of Valdosta. But it was another federal agency that apparently showed up at his son's residences recently.
This is where they knocked the morning of around 5 a.m. You can see the scuff marks from the shoes as the U.S. Marshals knocked.
I was laying in bed, I got a bang on my door.
Tactical gear?
Yes, sir, to the nth degree.
It was just like, it's about the Kendrick Johnson case, the ongoing Kendrick Johnson investigation.
Brandon Bell says what he and brother Brian Bell woke up to in 2 different rental places July 21st was worse than a bad dream. Deputy U.S. Marshals serving search warrants in connection with the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson at Lowndes High School in 2013.
I was just really shocked.
I broke down and cried.
I really had no reason in my head why they would be here.
It just keeps on getting worse.
One might imagine Kendrick Johnson's mom feels like she's in a nightmare that won't end.
Kendrick gives me strength. You know, he was our baby. He was my son.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out.
I would imagine practically every one of your viewers sat scratching their head.
And a lawsuit by Johnson's parents alleges a group including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
My only angle is to find justice for my son.
But the Bell civil attorneys, Patrick O'Connor and Bryce Ladson, say the July 21st search warrants sought text messages, emails, and the like relevant to alleged witness tampering and obstruction of justice.
Is it possible you were involved in any witness tampering or obstruction?
No, sir. In no possible way whatsoever.
Have you obstructed justice in any way?
No.
Have you tampered with any witnesses? Tried to influence anybody, tried to stop somebody from talking in the Kendrick Johnson investigation?
No.
Where our viewers can look in your eyes, did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir. Nor me or my family had anything to do with his death.
Both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
Where were you?
I was in class.
Videos, pictures, and theories abound online about what happened, some involving school surveillance video. We talked to Brandon Bell about his appearance.
I was changing clothes before I had to leave for the wrestling tournament that we were going to. And I went in there to check my weight the first time. I changed, and then the shirt that was assumed to have blood on it that they had circled and said blood, it actually said RLX. It's a type of polo.
How's it feel to get your side out?
Great. Because I finally, we've just been sitting here. Not just letting everybody else talk. You know, it's our time to talk.
Now, a March 2013 document in the file suggests an attorney told the sheriff's office that after consulting with the father of Brian and Brandon Bell, he advised them not to make a statement. We are posting extensive raw video at WSBTV.com and tomorrow on Channel 2 Action News at 5. video identified as a raid on the home of FBI agent Rick Bell, and what his wife has to say about whether the level of force on display was appropriate under the circumstances. Remember, that's tomorrow on Channel 2 Action News at 5. Reporting live outside FBI headquarters in DeKalb County, Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
The Johnsons never claimed certainty. They claimed responsibility. They argued that no student with a known history of conflict should be exempt from a serious investigation, that no family should be shielded from scrutiny because of their connections, that no theory should be dismissed simply because it is inconvenient. For the Johnsons, the issue was not accusation, it was omission.
FBI headquarters in DeKalb County with these exclusive interviews. Mark?
And at last check, this case remained a focus of federal investigation. But we are outside the FBI's Atlanta field office because that is where we're told Agent Rick Bell was assigned, and both his sons are the subject of target letters from a federal prosecutor. And now we hear from them at last.
I'm going to ask my photographer to push in tight on your face.
Okay.
Our viewers can read your expression. Did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No. He was like one of my good friends.
Even at the time of his death?
Even at the time of his death.
You know, every word we broadcast of this is going to be scrutinized by the blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, and so on.
Yes, sir. It should be. And I want everybody to know the truth. And I mean, they can ridicule me and they can say whatever they want, but in the end, the truth will prevail. And everybody will find that me and my brother have been innocent and always will be innocent.
We've just heard what family attorneys acknowledge. Sheriff's deputies, the GBI, and a federal grand jury have not heard. Brothers Brian and Brandon Bell answering questions, no holds barred, about the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson in 2013.
He was the laughter of our house. He was the joy of our house. And he gives us strength to keep fighting.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out. But Kendrick Johnson's mom takes issue with that.
Are you more convinced today than ever that KJ was the victim of foul play?
Yes.
And with some of what the Bells say.
No, they weren't friends.
And in a lawsuit, Johnson's parents allege a group, including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
None of the allegations that were made were without research.
But both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
Did you see Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir, not at any point during that day.
Where were you?
I was in class. First block, second block, third block, and fourth block.
Close to the gym?
No.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
The suit suggests the brothers sought revenge for a brief fight between Brian and Kendrick on a team bus.
A year before, I mean,
what was
we're
that
still
about,
friends.
Anyway?
So I can't even remember. I mean, it was so small to us, it was ridiculous.
Your brother had a football scholarship offered to FSU.
Yes, sir, he did.
They pulled it back.
On signing day.
So how low did you get?
To the lowest you can go.
Letters from the Macon U.S. Attorney's Office suggest both Bells are targets of grand jury investigation. The letters suggest possible civil rights violations.
My objective is to only get justice for my son.
Have you prayed for the Johnsons?
Yes, sir. I have. I hope that they found justice, and I hope that they do find out the truth about their son.
I pray for the truth to come out about what happened to my son.
Now, there's lots more. These interviews were extensive. No lawyers present, no parents present. We plan to have a lot of all new excerpts coming up on Channel 2 Action News at 6, including both Bell brothers talking about federal search warrants executed at their residences in recent weeks and what searchers may have been after. For now, I'm live outside FBI Atlanta headquarters in DeKalb County. Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
There was another rumor circulating quietly through the student body, one involving a young man named Joe. According to several students, Joe had allegedly been upset with Kendrick over an encounter involving his girlfriend. Some described it as jealousy. Others described it as anger. Others said they didn't know whether it was true, only that people were talking about it in the days leading up to Kendrick's death. The Johnsons did not present this rumor as fact. They presented it as a lead. A story circulating among teenagers in the same building where their son died. A thread investigators should have pulled if only to eliminate it. But like so many other leads, this one was ignored. No interviews documented. No follow-up recorded. No effort made to determine whether the rumor held any truth. To the Johnson family, it became another example of an investigation designed to avoid questions instead of answering them. In any legitimate investigation, rumors are not treated as truth. They are treated as direction. A rumor is a starting point, not a conclusion. It is a place to ask questions, identify relationships, and track timelines. But in Kendrick's case, rumors involving other students were dismissed immediately, while the rumor that Kendrick climbed headfirst into a vertical mat was treated as gospel. The Johnsons understood that not every rumor leads to a suspect, but every rumor reveals something about the environment in which a tragedy occurred. The rumors surrounding Joe showed tension, pressure, emotion, motive. It should have been explored. Instead, it was ignored. And to Kendrick's family, that silence spoke volumes. Years later, a disturbing video surfaced. A young man, recorded secretly, claiming involvement in Kendrick's death. The voice in the recording described actions, motives, and even details that echoed long-circulating theories. But instead of investigating the tape, the sheriff's office dismissed it outright, labeling the boy mentally unstable, without providing evidence to support the dismissal. To the Johnsons, this dismissal felt all too familiar. Rather than examine whether the tape contained truth, investigators focused on discrediting the speaker. They did not interview the young man extensively. They did not compare his claims to known inconsistencies. They did not investigate the details he provided. They simply closed the door.
Kendrick Johnson was found dead in a rolled-up gym mat at his high school. Originally ruled accidental. The parents are very upset. They believe that their son was murdered. So now feds took over the investigation, but now the latest development we're getting is that there was an email tip sent to the sheriff's office saying and implicating certain individuals. The sheriff's office, which ruled this an accident, now following up on that the next day, issuing subpoenas, and it seems like this investigation moving forward. Joey Jackson, Mike Brooks with me, and Jane Velez Mitchell, host of Jane Velez Mitchell, joins us now. Jane, it seems from where I'm sitting, this is a big development in trying to get to the bottom of what happened here.
Absolutely, Vinny. And I think it's great that with alacrity, investigators interviewed two of the four individuals named in this anonymous email tip. I'd like to see them go further. First of all, I'd like to know, where were they at the time of Kendrick Johnson's death? So that's number one. Also, if you're looking at the poor individual, the victim there in the rolled up gym mat, there's clothing, there's a lot of material around there. What about their DNA, their fingerprints? Is there any matchup between those two? So I think that there's a lot of work still to be done. I'm also curious. I heard the report that 100 people were interviewed in the wake of this, and I want to know, were those two individuals or the four individuals named in the anonymous tip amongst those 100 individuals originally interviewed? And of course, the biggest question, who sent the anonymous tip? Is this person possibly the one who's actually involved and wants to throw police off as we get closer to a possible resolution with the feds getting involved and a grand jury convening to hear this? Is this possibly an effort to send them in the wrong direction? So it really compounds the mystery, but there's a lot to work with here.
Well, Jane, Victor Blackwell said that the four names have come up in the investigation before. So we don't know if they are possibly part of the 100 who were interviewed, and they are trying to find out the origin and who sent this. So, you know, they've interviewed two. They didn't interview the other two. Could this also be an investigative ploy? Could this be, talk to two of them, and maybe there might be some talk between the others? And I don't think that they're ignoring the other two totally.
To Kendrick's parents, the confession tape was not definitive proof. It was a cry that demanded examination. Even if the boy was confused, lying, or repeating rumors, he clearly believed he knew something about Kendrick's death. That alone warranted further questioning. His words should have been documented, cross-referenced, and investigated. But once again, a potential lead was dismissed before it was understood. For the Johnson family, the pattern was undeniable. Every lead that pointed toward the possibility of foul play was ignored. Every narrative that supported the accident theory was embraced. And the truth remained buried. I am Kendrick Johnson's father, and let me tell you something. I have walked into rooms where men in uniform looked me in the face and lied without blinking. I have stood in courtrooms where justice was treated like a privilege for some and a fantasy for others. I have watched powerful people protect their own while my son lay in the ground. They told me to move on. They told me to accept their story. They told me to stop asking questions. But I was not raised to bow to injustice. I was not raised to fear the truth. And I will never stop fighting for my boy. They can close their files. They can close their doors. But they will never close my mouth. Kendrick deserves justice, and I will not rest until he gets it. When local law enforcement refused to reopen Kendrick's case, when the school provided little transparency, and when leads were ignored, the Johnson family turned to the courts. They filed multiple lawsuits, not out of spite, but out of desperation. They believed someone had harmed their son, and that institutions meant to protect him had instead worked to hide the truth. In 2014, they filed a wrongful death suit alleging that their son was killed in a confrontation involving students at the school, and that officials participated in a cover-up. Their lawsuit was bold, sweeping, and most importantly, it demanded accountability in a place where accountability had long been optional. As their fight grew, the Johnson family filed a federal lawsuit naming 42 defendants. These included school officials, law enforcement officers, state investigators, agents of the GBI, and even an FBI agent whose sons attended the same school. The Johnsons alleged that not only was their son killed, but that a network of individuals had conspired, intentionally or through negligence, to conceal the circumstances of his death. They believed that people in positions of power had acted to protect their own, leaving their family to stand alone in their grief and pursuit of truth. But the court's response was not what the Johnsons expected. Their lawsuits were dismissed on technical grounds, jurisdictional issues, and claims of insufficient evidence, not because the questions raised had been answered, but because they had been ruled out of bounds. Then came the harshest blow. The Johnsons were ordered to pay nearly $300,000 in attorney fees to the very individuals they accused. For a grieving family already carrying the weight of trauma, this ruling felt like punishment for refusing to be silent. It was a message to every family seeking truth against powerful institutions. Speak up, and you will pay a price. The family's 2015 wrongful death lawsuit alleged that Kendrick had been killed by 2 students, and that school officials failed to intervene despite prior conflict. They claimed law enforcement, the GBI, and federal agents participated in a coordinated effort to conceal what happened. But the court dismissed the suit, stating the claims lacked sufficient factual basis. The Johnsons insisted their claims lacked evidence only because investigators never collected it. Their point was clear. How can a family produce evidence when the institutions responsible for gathering it refuse to do so? An appellate court later ruled that some named entities, like the sheriff's office and school board, could not be sued as entities under Georgia law. Others were shielded by immunity. Some defendants were protected because the lawsuit lacked identifying information. But the appellate judges also noted that the issues surrounding the lawsuit's technical naming could be corrected, suggesting that the case had been dismissed prematurely. For the Johnsons, this ruling was not vindication, but validation, proof that the system had not even allowed their arguments to be heard on their merits. In 2021, under growing public pressure and increased national attention, Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Polk reopened the investigation. He gained access to federal files previously withheld and reviewed material the Johnsons had begged authorities to consider for years. When the news broke, Kendrick's mother said, "It's been 8 long years. I'm feeling hopeful." For a moment, the community wondered whether old wounds could finally lead to new truth, but hope was short-lived. In January 2022, the federal review was officially closed once again. Sheriff Polk declared there was no evidence of foul play, and he described Kendrick's death as a weird accident. He warned critics not to pick and choose evidence. But the Johnsons believed the sheriff had done exactly that. accepted the version that aligned with institutional narratives while disregarding the inconsistencies, the contradictions, and the evidence that pointed elsewhere.
That's my day off. My question is, when I pass the polygraph, which I will, what kind of plot will you go with on that? Because the thing is, you called me a liar, and I don't really like that, whether that was a tactic you used to get me to say something, but there's got to be some corrective actions taken on that. So January 30th in Raleigh, and after the results, I will agree to do an interview with you. Now, you also have to remember everything is 5 years ago. I've had a lot of emotional stuff happen since then, and I also don't remember every detail, only details about who, what, where, why. Thanks. Ryan Domek Hernandez. And here's the statement that we all agreed we'd base the test off of.
Statement. I, Ryan Domek Hernandez, in conjunction with my polygraph here today, I am here to prove the following statement is truthful. In approximately 2016, while I was doing a delivery from Florida to Georgia, I ran out of cash, called Brandon Bell, whom was willing to give money for gas. At this time, I drove to Brandon Bell's girlfriend's apartment in Jacksonville, Florida. I arrived at Brandon Bell's girlfriend's apartment at approximately 2:30 a.m. I drove with Brandon Bell to his ATM. He gave me $20. We went back to Brandon Bell's girlfriend's apartment. We smoked a bong together. Shortly after, Brandon Bell told me that his brother, Brian Bell, and someone else went to meet Kendrick Johnson in the weight room of the gym. During the altercation, Brandon Bell said that his brother, Brian, struck Kendrick Johnson in the neck or head with a weight and Kendrick fell.
Ah, there you are.
There we go.
Awesome.
I don't know what that was. That was weird. I had to go unmute myself in the settings. So anyway.
That's
okay.
funny. Technology. It's like so great, yet so limiting sometimes. My first call was to Hannah, and just to remind you, Hannah was best friends with Taylor Aiken back in 2013 when the incident happened with KJ. And Taylor, for all of those who are watching, probably already know that was Brian Bell's girlfriend or somebody he was kind of seeing around the time that KJ was last seen. I wanted to reach out to Hannah because she's been such an asset to this case, and we had really kind of started to build a friendship. So I also then contacted Debbie, my investigator, because after getting these test results, we really had some marching orders in place, so we needed to discuss next steps. Thanks for coming on now with the news that Brian Anthony passed with flying colors.
Yeah, this is quite a shock, but as I said, it opened a whole new can of worms now.
It's almost maddening. I totally thought that was going to come back as a lie.
Yeah, well, I think everybody probably did, just with his history and the story and his credential. I mean, he just, you know what I mean? It just didn't seem even possible that he was telling the truth, but.
Yeah, and then I can't even quite comprehend what that might mean. He clearly passed.
So now what?
I literally have no idea. I have no fucking idea.
I mean, I think if anything, this is what shows you of why things aren't admissible. I mean, because polygraphs, it's almost like it's a medical test. It's a medical range of what they do. That's why it's not scientific enough for them to say this is clear evidence of something, because yes, say this was, okay, absolutely what happened, all that, it doesn't explain and fix and change everything else.
Right.
And so it's not like it does change everything. whether someone believes something, whether they heard something, whether someone lied to them, and they know this or whatever, it doesn't change everything else you already know and has been proven in other ways because of this one aspect, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I believe the lie detector test, though. I mean, I believe it.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I don't doubt it.
You still believe that they beat up Kendrick, put him in that mat?
I do, because all the evidence points toward them.
What about these boys? I mean, they've gone on down the road.
I mean, like I tell everybody, I don't care about those boys. I just want the responsible party, and if that's where it is, I want those held accountable for what happened to Kendrick.
The Johnson family's attorneys filed another lawsuit in August of 2016, naming 42 defendants, including members of the Lowndes Sheriff's Office and the GBI. A federal judge dismissed the lawsuit and ordered the Johnson family to pay legal fees.
Mistrust of law enforcement. It's always been at the center of the Kendrick Johnson case. Those feelings are deep-rooted for many in the black community. South Georgia has a painful racist history.
And that could partly explain why it's hard for a black mother to accept the death of her son as an accident. When Sheriff Polk reopened the case in March of 2021, he said it was because he wanted to find the truth. He walked me through that process.
And Jackie Johnson explained to me why those efforts did nothing to establish trust.
He is a liar. He is a liar. He told plenty of lies in that 16-page document. He told plenty of lies, and my husband called him out on those lies.
He says that there was no evidence in there.
Yeah, of course, that's what he's gonna say.
Why do you think he would do that?
Because he's allegedly part of the cover-up now.
Don't call me a liar. You can call me a lot of names. You can call me a cracker. You can call me whatever you want to. You can call me any name in the book. A lot of them you can't put on TV. But don't call me a liar.
The Lowndes County Sheriff's Office closed the case in January of last year after a second investigation. Polk says he personally went through 17 boxes of evidence.
He says he spent a year going through all those papers and everything.
Yeah, it was almost like 7 or 8 months, but there's no way. You got all these other cases going on. You took a whole year just to, no, you can't put officers that were on the case that helped cover it up. You can't put them back on the case. You think they're gonna uncover what they covered up and allegedly be prosecuted?
They feel like I'm not doing my job. They feel like there's cover-ups and everything else, and that's their prerogative. That comes from my job.
They said the case was the 17 boxes were being shipped to here, but then he took it down, it was 15 boxes, then he said it wasn't, but allegedly 14 boxes.
After reviewing the evidence, the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office determined there was no evidence indicating someone else was involved with Kendrick's death. Sheriff Polk was so confident in the ruling, he offered $500,000 of his own money as a reward for evidence that found Kendrick's killer.
Are you also hopeful that somebody will walk through that door and tell you that, hey, I know something about this case and it's legitimate, and that would be the incentive, that reward?
If it cost me $500,000, it wouldn't bother me one bit. If it takes that to get somebody to tell me something that I don't know or I didn't see in those files, it's worth it.
For the family, the closure of the review was another betrayal. One of the most troubling elements in the case was the missing hour of surveillance footage from the gym area on the day Kendrick died. Cameras pointed directly toward the mats were mysteriously blurred, unfocused, or time-skipped. In a high school with thousands of students, the most critical footage surrounding a child's disappearance had conveniently vanished. CNN analysts reported that key segments simply did not exist. Whether this was technical error, human manipulation, or selective preservation was never resolved. To Kendrick's parents, the answer was obvious. The footage that could have revealed the truth was gone because the truth was never meant to be seen. Valdosta, Georgia is a place where power has long been intertwined with privilege, and privilege has long been intertwined with race. In 2013, racial tensions were still entrenched in the region's culture. For many black families, justice felt selective, accessible to some, denied to others. When Kendrick died, the Johnsons believed that racial bias influenced how quickly his death was dismissed, how carelessly the investigation was conducted, and how little urgency the school demonstrated in responding to his disappearance. They believed that if Kendrick were white, the investigation would have been immediate, thorough, and transparent. Instead, it was slow, dismissive, and riddled with contradictions. To them, racism was not a theory, it was the foundation of how their son's case was handled. As the Johnsons pieced together the fragments of the investigation, one truth became impossible to ignore. The people who controlled information, evidence, and outcomes were interconnected. Law enforcement, school officials, political figures, families with influence, agencies with immunity. It created a web of power where accountability became scattered and responsibility became blurred. When powerful institutions overlap, truth becomes fragile. And in Kendrick's case, the Johnsons believed that truth had been suffocated by the very people who were supposed to defend it. As Kendrick's story spread throughout Valdosta, something deep began to stir in the community. Students whispered their fears and memories. Parents questioned the safety of their own children. Community activists, spiritual leaders, and neighbors stepped forward to support the Johnson family, marching in the streets, holding vigils, and speaking the truth out loud, even when the institutions around them remained silent. People who had never met Kendrick felt the weight of his story. They recognized the echoes of every black family who had been told to accept loss quietly, every injustice brushed under the rug, every unanswered question dismissed as inconvenience. Kendrick's death awakened a long-buried pain shared by many in Valdosta, the pain of being unheard, unseen, and unprotected. Residents expressed fear that if this could happen to Kendrick, it could happen to anyone's child. They worried about the lack of transparency in the school, the evasiveness of law enforcement, and the powerful alliances shaping the narrative. Many believed the truth was being smothered beneath privilege and connections. Community members spoke openly about a wall, a barrier between accountability and those who had the means to avoid it. Kendrick became more than a case. He became a symbol of the struggle for truth in a place where truth often came second to reputation. For Kendrick's mother, this battle has never been just physical or legal. It has always been spiritual. She has spoken openly about the warfare she felt when facing systems determined to silence her child's story. From the moment she saw his face in the funeral home, she knew she was up against forces greater than bureaucracy. She knew darkness had touched her son's story, and she armed herself with prayer, faith, and unwavering conviction. Many mothers fight for justice, but few are asked to fight through such spiritual heaviness. Lies, omissions, retaliation, and attempts to wear her down. Yet she stands, clothed in strength and truth, refusing to let the enemy claim victory. Her fight is not just for Kendrick. It is for every mother who has buried a child and been told to accept the unacceptable. Jacqueline Johnson prayed through nights that felt endless. She prayed when officials ignored her. She prayed when lawsuits failed. She prayed when her son's organs were found missing. She prayed when she walked into courtrooms where justice felt foreign. She prayed, not because she was weak, but because she understood that some battles cannot be fought with earthly weapons. Her strength became a beacon for the entire community. Her determination became a spiritual uprising. And in a place with a long history of racial injustice, she became a reminder that faith is not passive, it is revolutionary. There were clear forensic red flags that were never properly addressed. Blood found on the gym wall did not belong to Kendrick. Investigators claimed it was old and unrelated, but never determined whose blood it was, why it was there, or why it was ignored. In a death investigation, unidentified blood in the same room where a body is discovered is a critical lead. Yet it received no meaningful follow-up. To the Johnson family, the dismissal of this blood evidence was inexcusable. If investigators had treated the case as suspicious from the beginning, the blood could have led to a witness, a suspect, or at the very least, a clear understanding of the events in that gym. The mat in which Kendrick was found stood at roughly 6 feet in height. The opening measured 14 inches. Kendrick's shoulders measured 19. The physics simply did not align with the official narrative. While investigators suggested he rolled into the mat, the position of his body, the placement of his shoes, and the angle of his arm contradicted that possibility. His shoes were behind his knees, not beneath his feet as one would expect if he had simply slipped in from above. These contradictions were raised repeatedly, yet officials insisted on the accident theory despite the physical impossibility many experts pointed out. To the Johnsons, this proved that the official conclusion was reached first, and the evidence was forced to fit it. The missing organs, replaced with newspaper, remain one of the most disturbing aspects of this case. Organs are essential for determining cause of death, especially in cases involving suspected trauma. The fact that Kendrick's were missing destroyed the possibility of future analysis. It raised questions that demanded answers. Where did his organs go? Why were they discarded? And why were there 3 conflicting explanations for their disappearance? Whether intentional or negligent, the result was the same. The truth was damaged, evidence was lost, and the Johnsons were left with an autopsy that could never be fully validated. The timeline of Kendrick's final moments was pieced together through fragmented footage, contradictory statements, and incomplete documentation. He was seen walking toward the gym. He was seen jogging inside, and then nothing. No footage of him returning, leaving, interacting, or struggling. The gap in the timeline, combined with the missing footage around the mats, created a void that investigators never filled. Instead, they filled it with assumption, speculation, and premature certainty. For the Johnson family, the timeline was not just incomplete, it was manipulated by omission. As the Johnsons fought through courts, autopsies, investigations, and public scrutiny, the truth never became clearer, but the system's failures did. Every inconsistency pointed back to one undeniable reality. Kendrick's death was never treated with the seriousness or integrity it deserved. The clues were there. The red flags were unmistakable. The questions were abundant. But instead of seeking truth, the institutions involved chose closure. And closure without truth is not justice. It is abandonment. Despite every door closed in their faces, despite every attempt to silence them, despite every financial burden placed upon them, the Johnson family remained steadfast. They refused to let Kendrick become a footnote in a flawed investigation. They refused to let officials rewrite his story. They refused to let the world forget the child who walked into a gym and never walked out. Their resolve became the backbone of this entire fight, and their strength became a testament to love, grief, and justice in its purest form. 12 years have passed since Kendrick Johnson walked into Lowndes High School and never walked back out. 12 years since a mother and father were told that their son's life ended in an accident that defied logic, science, and basic human empathy. Over the years, investigations closed, reopened, and closed again. Officials defended their conclusions. Agencies shielded their own. Explanations shifted. Evidence disappeared. But through all of it, one truth remained clear to Kendrick's family. Their son was failed by a system designed to protect him. A system that looked away before it ever looked within. A system that chose the comfort of familiar narratives over the discomfort of accountability. And even now, the questions echo louder than any official statement ever could. What happened in that gym? Who was there? Why was the footage missing? Why were the organs removed? Why were alternative leads dismissed? Why was evidence ignored? Why was the timeline incomplete? Why was a child found in a place he should never have been, in a position that defied reason, and surrounded by contradictions that were never fully explored? These questions are not conspiracy. They are common sense. They are the foundation of any real investigation, and they remain unanswered, not because answers do not exist, but because no one in power demanded them. Through it all, Kendrick's parents stood unbroken. They marched. They protested. They spoke truth to power in rooms where they were not welcome. They challenged sheriffs, coroners, school boards, judges, and federal agencies. They took their fight to the streets, the courts, the media, and the hearts of people across the world. They endured scrutiny, retaliation, financial penalties, and endless grief. And still they refused to bow. Their love became a force that institutions could not silence. Their determination became the voice Kendrick was denied. And their courage became a blueprint for every family fighting for justice in a world built to overlook their pain. Over a decade is a long time to live without answers. A long time to carry grief that never softens. A long time to wake up each morning and fight the same fight you fought the day before. But a decade has not weakened the Johnsons. It has sharpened them. It has strengthened their resolve. It has turned their sorrow into testimony. And it has revealed day by day the depth of a family's love. A love that defied systems, silenced doubt, and refused to let the world forget the child they raised. Kendrick's name has traveled farther than Valdosta ever imagined. His story sparked conversations about race, power, forensic integrity, surveillance accountability, and the treatment of black children within institutions that often fail them. His story moved strangers to march, pray, speak out, and demand better. His story exposed cracks in systems that once believed themselves unbreakable. And his story continues to resonate because truth, real truth, does not fade, even when buried beneath paperwork and politics. The Johnsons know their fight is far from over. Justice is not an accident. Justice does not arrive through silence. Justice does not grow in the shadows of unanswered questions. Justice demands persistence, pressure, and prayer. It demands the courage to confront power. And the Johnsons have shown the world that they are willing to do all of that, and more. Their fight continues, not because it is easy, but because it is right. And because Kendrick deserves nothing less. One day the truth will come forward. Whether through confession, evidence, exposure, or divine revelation, truth has a way of rising. It may be delayed, but it cannot be denied. And when it does rise, it will vindicate a family that refused to accept the unacceptable. It will expose every contradiction, every failure, every silence that allowed this case to remain unresolved. And it will reveal what Kendrick's parents have known all along. Their son did not die the way officials claimed. Something happened in that gym, something that demands answers. So here we stand over a decade later, still asking the same questions, still calling out the same contradictions, still demanding the same truth. Kendrick's story is not simply the story of what happened in that gym. It is the story of every lie told to protect a reputation, every report written to protect a career, every decision made to protect the powerful. It is the story of a family forced to fight the very people who were supposed to defend them. It is the story of a child whose voice was stolen, and a family who refused to let that silence be permanent. Kendrick Johnson, forever loved, forever remembered, forever unfinished, until justice is done. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Thank you for sharing. Now, I am handing it back over to Auntie Leah.
Family, thank you for walking with me through this powerful and painful journey tonight. Thank you for opening your hearts, for allowing yourselves to feel, and for standing in solidarity with a family that has carried a weight no parent and no sibling should ever have to bear. Kendrick's mother, Jackie, his father, Kenneth, and his sister, Kendrea, have fought a battle that stretches beyond human understanding, a battle that has tested their faith, their strength, and their very breath at times. Yet through every valley, every sleepless night, every unanswered question, they have continued to stand. They have continued to believe. They have continued to fight for the truth, and we stand with them. What we witness tonight is not just injustice. It is a reminder that evil works in the shadows, but God works in the light. It is a reminder that spiritual warfare is real, and that the fight for truth often looks like Daniel chapter 10, delayed answers, unseen battles, and angels pushing through darkness just to deliver what God already declared. But hear me clearly. Truth may bend, but it does not break. Justice may be delayed, but it cannot be denied. And Kendrick's voice, though silenced on earth, continues to roar in the spirit. To everyone watching, thank you for caring. Thank you for listening. Thank you for refusing to turn away. Each of you is part of keeping Kendrick's story alive and part of the spiritual push that this family needs. Your awareness, your prayers, your support, they matter more than you know. As we close tonight's documentary, I invite you to shift your heart into a place of reflection, a place of reverence, a place where justice, faith, and love meet, because now we transition into Kendrick's final songography, a tribute not just to his life, but to the truth, the purpose, and the spiritual legacy that continues to flow through his name. Family, thank you for watching. Thank you for standing, and may God continue to shine light in every place where darkness has tried to hide the truth. Now, let the songography speak.
Father God, we come before you, asking for truth, asking for justice, asking for strength to keep going. Don't let our child's story die in silence.
Mother guided,
Let light find every shadow.
come in slaughter,
Let every lie collapse.
asking for truth and justice, says Kendrick's soul strength to keep going.
Yeah, mama.
Mother guided,
Hey, mama, daddy, I'm here. I ain't going, I'm just free. I've been watching y'all fight for the truth they don't want the world to see. I saw the masks, heard the lies, saw the cameras cut out, saw the fear in their voices when you started calling them out. I'm the son they tried to silence, but your love pulled me through. Every tear became a weapon, every prayer became truth. They tried to bury the evidence, tried to bury the tape. But they forgot a soul don't die, it rises up in His grace. Lord, reveal what, Lord,
Reveal what happened.
oh,
Reveal who was there.
reveal.
Reveal every hidden thing.
We will not stop praying. Yeah. Mama, I felt you crying. Daddy, I heard you scream my name. January 10th froze time, but heaven broke every chain. I walked into that school a child. The world turned me into a case, but you kept fighting for my honor when they spit lies in your face. They said accident, but you knew better. Said case closed, y'all said never. Said move on, you said forever. Justice ain't a switch, it's an endeavor. And I'm standing right beside you, even when the nights get cold. Your prayers shake the earth, Mama, that's what God told.
God, give us strength to finish this fight. Give us the courage to uncover what they hid.
Give us justice for our boy. We will not bow, we will not break. Lead us, Father, Daddy. I saw you at the school, fists clenched, eyes swollen from the truth. You became the storm they feared, the voice that cut straight through. Mama, your feet blister from marching, your prayers lit the path. You turned grief into fire, you turned sorrow into wrath. I ain't lost,
I'm lifted.
I ain't silent,
I'm gifted.
every lie
That they twisted.
will one day be confronted and shifted. I watch y'all stand tall while they hope y'all would fold, but y'all carry me in spirit like a story retold. Every lawsuit, every headline, every case dismissed blow brought you closer to the truth. Y'all stronger than you know. Lord, open every door,
Break every chain.
let justice rise.
I'm here, I'm here.
Your prayers keep lifting me.
Let truth come forth.
Let darkness fall.
I'm walking beside you through it all.
They took my organs, took the footage,
Break every chain.
tried to take my name,
I'm here, I'm here.
but they couldn't take your faith.
Let truth come forth.
And that's why justice still to
I'm
me.
walking beside you through it all.
They took my organs, took the footage, tried to take my name, but they couldn't take your faith. And that's why justice still came. You turned heartbreak to history. Mama, your courage is flame. Daddy, your strength shook valleys, made cowards drown in shame. And when the world grows tired, when the courts turn cold, remember the truth don't die. It waits until it's told. I'm not resting till I see the day my story stands tall. Till the guilty face their judgment, till justice answers the call. Lord, give us what we
came for.
Not comfort,
not closure,
but truth.
Truth for Kendrick.
Truth for every child stolen and silent.
Truth for Kendrick.
Truth for every family still fighting.
Truth for Kendrick.
We will not stop.
Truth for Kendrick.
We will not bow. We will not retreat. In Jesus' name.
Yeah.
Amen, mama.
Yeah.